You are walking down a hallway in complete darkness. Your eyes are open, your legs are moving. You navigate around the furniture, avoid the stairs, even open a door. But your brain is completely asleep. You have no idea any of this is happening. And tomorrow morning, you will remember absolutely nothing. This is sleepwalking. And it is far stranger than you think. Around 3.6% of adults worldwide walk in their sleep at least once a year. For children, that number jumps to nearly 15%. So right now, tonight, millions of people will get up out of bed, move through their homes, and carry out surprisingly complex behaviors, all while their conscious mind is entirely switched off. Some will eat, some will drive, some will have full conversations, and none of them will remember a single moment of it. So how does this happen? Why does your body keep moving when your mind is gone? To understand sleepwalking, you first need to understand how sleep actually works. Every night, your brain cycles through 4 distinct stages of sleep. The first 2 are light sleep. Your body slows down, your muscles relax, your brain activity drops. Stage 3 is where things get interesting. This is called slow wave sleep or deep sleep. It is the most restorative phase, the phase where your body repairs tissue, consolidates memories, and releases growth hormone. It is also the phase where sleepwalking happens almost exclusively. During slow-wave sleep, your brain enters a strange, partial state. Neurologist Mark Mahowald, one of the world's leading sleep disorder researchers, described it this way. The motor regions of the brain can remain partially active even while the areas responsible for conscious awareness are fully shut down. Think of it like a building where the electricity has been cut off, but somehow the basement lights are still on. Your motor cortex, the part of your brain that controls movement, can fire. Your limbic system, which handles emotion and basic survival behavior, can activate. But your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, self-awareness, and memory formation, is completely offline. You are not dreaming. You are not conscious. You are something in between. And that in-between state is more common than you might expect. There is a scientific term for what sleepwalkers experience: parasomnia. It is a category of sleep disorders that includes sleepwalking, sleep talking, night terrors, and a handful of rarer conditions. But among all the parasomnias, sleepwalking is uniquely fascinating because of just how much your body can do without your mind. In 2011, a research team at the Stanford Center for Sleep Sciences studied 19 habitual sleepwalkers using high-resolution brain imaging. What they found was remarkable. During sleepwalking episodes, the motor and cingulate cortex, the regions tied to movement and basic goal-directed behavior, lit up with activity. But the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the seat of conscious thought, showed almost complete deactivation. The brain was running on autopilot, a very powerful, surprisingly capable autopilot. So why does this happen to some people and not others? Genetics plays a significant role. If one of your parents is a sleepwalker, your chance of sleepwalking yourself is roughly 45%. If both parents sleepwalk, that number climbs to 60%. Researchers have identified variations in the HLA gene, a gene tied to the immune system, that appear far more frequently in people who sleepwalk. Your biology may have written sleepwalking into your DNA before you were even born. But genes alone do not tell the full story. Triggers matter. Sleep deprivation is one of the most powerful. When you are overtired, your brain is desperate for deep, slow-wave sleep, and it plunges into it faster and harder than usual. The deepest and more abruptly the brain enters that slow wave state, the harder it becomes to fully coordinate the transition. Parts of the brain wake up too soon or never fully go down in the first place. That window of partial activity opens, and out comes the sleepwalker. Stress, fever, alcohol, and certain medications, especially sedatives and some antidepressants, can all push the brain into that same fragmented state. Even sleeping in an unfamiliar environment can do it. Your brain is processing too much, cycling too hard, and the transitions between sleep stages become messy. And here is what makes sleepwalking truly unsettling. It is not random wandering. Sleepwalkers tend to perform automatic, habitual behaviors. Things the brain has done thousands of times before. Walking to the kitchen, opening the refrigerator, sitting at a desk. These are behaviors so deeply encoded into your neural pathways that they can run without any conscious input at all. Your brain does not need you to perform them. It has memorized the script. It just runs it. Dr. Antonio Zadra, a sleep researcher at the Université de Montréal, has spent decades studying sleepwalking. His work revealed something that genuinely surprised the scientific community. Sleepwalkers do not just wander. They navigate. They problem solve. In one documented case, a sleepwalker climbed out of a second-floor window, crossed a rooftop, and descended safely before waking up on the ground. Another drove a car for several miles before a collision finally jolted them awake. The behavior is purposeful. It just has no purpose your conscious mind ever chose. This points to something profound about how your brain actually works. You like to believe you are in control. You like to believe that you, your conscious, thinking self, are the one directing your body. But sleepwalking reveals a different truth. Your brain runs enormous amounts of processing in the background without ever consulting you. Your conscious mind is less a pilot and more a passenger who occasionally gets to touch the controls. That idea is not just a metaphor. It is supported by decades of neuroscience. In 1983, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted one of the most provocative experiments in the history of brain research. He asked participants to flick their wrist whenever they felt like it, while he monitored their brain activity. What he found shook the scientific world. The brain showed measurable electrical activity, what he called the readiness potential, nearly half a second before the participant consciously decided to move. The decision to act appeared in the brain before the person was even aware they had made it. Your conscious awareness of your own actions may be arriving late to a party your brain already started without you. Sleepwalking takes that principle and turns up the volume. When you sleepwalk, you are not fighting your consciousness to take control. There is no consciousness there to fight. The automatic systems run free. The older, more primitive parts of your brain, the parts that manage movement, basic navigation, threat response, they take the wheel entirely. And they are surprisingly good drivers. There is even evidence that some sleepwalkers can respond to their environment. Their eyes are open, often with a characteristic glassy stare. They can avoid obstacles. They may respond to simple questions with mumbled, fragmented answers. Some can be gently guided back to bed without waking up. Their brain is not unconscious in the way you are unconscious under anesthesia. It is something more nuanced. Something in between awake and asleep that science still does not fully understand. Because here is the thing. Sleep itself is not fully understood. Researchers still debate why sleep evolved in the first place. The leading theories involve memory consolidation, cellular repair, and the clearance of metabolic waste from the brain through what is called the glymphatic system. But none of these theories fully explains why consciousness has to be suspended to accomplish it. Why does your brain need to shut down your awareness to do its maintenance work? Why can it not just run the repairs while you are awake? No one knows for certain. And that gap in knowledge is exactly where sleepwalking lives. Your ancestors slept differently than you do. Before artificial light, before the strict 8-hour night, humans likely slept in segmented patterns. A first sleep, a period of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night, then a second sleep before dawn. Historian Roger Ekirch documented this two-sleep pattern in hundreds of pre-industrial historical sources. During that middle-of-the-night waking period, people would pray, have sex, reflect on their dreams, or simply lie quietly in the dark. The modern consolidated sleep schedule is a relatively recent invention, and some researchers believe it may be making sleep disorders like sleepwalking more common by forcing the brain into a compressed sleep architecture it was never fully designed for. That long, unbroken night you try to get, your brain may still be trying to break it. Sleepwalking is almost never dangerous in itself. The real danger is environmental. Stairs, sharp objects, unlocked doors. The old belief that you should never wake a sleepwalker is a myth. Waking them is not physically harmful. It is just disorienting and difficult. The sleepwalker will almost always be confused, embarrassed, and completely amnesiac about what just happened. Because the memory circuits were never recording. The lights in that part of the building were off the whole time. For most people, sleepwalking fades with age. Children sleepwalk most because their brains are still developing the precise timing needed to transition smoothly between sleep stages. As the brain matures, those transitions become cleaner, and the sleepwalking stops. But for roughly 2 to 3% of adults, it continues. Sometimes triggered by stress, sometimes by medication, sometimes for no clear reason at all. And for those people, every morning begins the same way. They wake up in a room they do not remember walking to, in a position they did not consciously choose, with no memory of the journey that brought them there. Just like your ancestors waking up in a world they did not fully understand, trying to make sense of where they were and what their body had done, while their mind was somewhere else entirely. Tonight, when you lie down and close your eyes, your brain will begin its work. It will cycle through its stages, repair its cells, consolidate your memories, and flush its waste. And for most of you, your body will stay exactly where you left it. But for some of you, without warning, without intention, without any memory at all, you will get up, open a door, and walk into the dark. Your brain running a program you never wrote, executing a script you never approved, in a body you only think you control. You told yourself sleep was the one thing you understood, the one time each day your mind finally let go and rested. But your brain never really lets go. It just stops telling you what it is doing. And sometimes, in the quiet dark of 3 a.m., it gets up and goes for a walk.